What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the SCSL. We're here with the third place match, Action versus Rush. I was really hoping we were going to see Action or Rush get through the finals so we could avoid that PvP in the grand finals. But Snow and Best absolutely crushing right now. In the absence of Sulky, these two are the absolute best in the world. And Action and Rush are going to be relegated to that third place match. It's still going to be a lot of fun, though. Action versus Rush, that TVZ. Are you excited, Xun?
Well, actually, I'm pretty excited. I kind of wanted this third place match. Yeah, we do have the PvP in the grand finals, but I thought Action versus Rush was a much more balanced matchup between these players in the semi-finals, and I was kind of remiss that they were on opposite sides of the brackets and unlikely to get through. So it's a nice little consolation prize for me, getting some Zerg versus Terran action in this decider match.
We're ready to take a look at the map picks. Radion from Action first, going over to Rush for Polestar, then back to Action for Eclipse. Funny that he's decided to pick that map, being the Zerg. Deja Vu is going to be Rush's second map pick, and if we go that far, Metropolis, Dominator, and Death Valley. Neither player really willing to pick that map. Only Best really seems to have the balls to pick Death Valley, huh? He's like the only one who really wants that map.
Yeah, most people are pretty much avoiding it like the plague. There's only, like one or two guys that seem like they're going to be guaranteed to play on it by like the fourth game or what have you. Yeah, I think most of these guys just haven't mapped it out or just don't have the confidence on it to make it a solid pick.
All right, guys, and with that, we are ready to jump into game number 1. Radion, let's go.
맵은 라디온이고요. 스타팅은 유영지 선수가 조금 더 기분 좋은 스타팅이 되겠습니다. 뮤탈리스크에 바로 피해를 받지 않는.
A little bit of a false start there, but we're okay. We're hopping in. We've got Rush over here at the bottom left-hand corner. Action over in the top left. And this should be a really fun series, man. I'm probably going to enjoy this series a little bit more than the grand finals, actually, but there's a lot less on the line here for these two, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I might even enjoy this series more than the semi-finals, to be fair. I was kind of looking forward to who we expected to win to actually go through, and even though it is that PvP finals, I really did want to see this third place match between Action and Rush. I think I said that in previous weeks. Curious how these two stack up against one another. It's going to be a very committed early racks in the center here from Rush. This is pretty much semi all in. You can't really just float this back to the safety of a wall. You really do have to find some damage with this, and look at Action. He's just reading his soul, going for a 9-pool gastric.
Yeah, this is about as strong of a counter as you could possibly ask for. I think the only thing that might be a little stronger for Action is if he gas tricked a drone for a 9 scout early. I like to do that against Terran, because so many players on ladder go for this. He is going to find that barracks, but the barracks is going to be finishing up here in just a few seconds. Oh my god, he doesn't see it. You've got to be kidding me.
Is literally like one hex tile off from being scouted. So I mean, that's a small victory there for Rush. I mean, maybe I don't necessarily think he's gonna do damage still, but he might avoid total disaster. Like maybe Action doesn't quite navigate this as perfectly as he could, and there will be a gas follow-up here from Rush as well. He's gonna find out the bad news now that not only is Action up here in the top left, but he didn't go for that hatchery first. He sees the 6 Zerglings, so now he has a time to kind of adjust his play, and he's still in a bit of a weird situation, but if he can get these Marines back to safety and what have you, maybe there's a chance of doing something here. But I'm not even sure if he's gonna for a second I thought the drones were gonna see the Marines. Okay, now he does.
Oh my gosh, he sees everything, and the Lings are just going to continue across the map. He's going for it. He's not going to try and retreat back home and build a bunker or anything like that in his space. Rush is going to come across here, and I'm not really sure what he's planning to do with these 3 Marines, but Action, as long as he continues to make Lings, should be able to just wreck him here. He's trying to hide a factory at the top of his base. He definitely doesn't want that to be delayed. Here comes 4 lings, and that's enough to push everything back. In fact, that will just end this bunker rush and probably Rush's hopes in this match. Okay, he's gonna sit back here, wait for this bunker to remake, but now there's 6 lings, and it's just the same problem persists.
Yeah, he's task switching, defending in the main base as well with the SCVs to make sure not too many of those get targeted down. Does manage to survive with 2 of these Marines, so he has, you know, got some pressure on this natural hatchery, but it's not enough DPS to kill it quickly, and he's not even mining in his main right now. I really did feel like he was going to pull these Marines back and try and just buy time for a Vulture getting out and like trying to micro the SCVs with the Marines in the main base. I mean, this isn't necessarily a bad option from Rush. I kind of understand why he's done it, but I don't think it's gonna pay off in the way he wanted it to.
Well, let's see. I mean, he is gonna clear this for sure. Getting a little bit lucky with the targeting there, not losing any drones to this bunker. Here comes the sunken colony. This is the one hope for Rush. Can he somehow with this Vulture sneak in past that sunken colony? Second Vulture is on the way as well. Mind you, can he get up here and do some critical damage? Action is in a fantastic spot. This is his last hope. Rush is going for it. He hits the ramp and immediately gets targeted, almost killing this Vulture, and he might just kill it now with the drones. There it is. Gets the finishing touch, and GG is called. Wow, a very quick game here in game number 1. Action takes this first match. Ooh, dude, that's about as countered as you can get, I think. Going for an 8-Rex up against 9 pool, that's pretty rough.
Oh, it's pretty rough, unfortunately, for Action. I mean, fortunately for Rush, the Action was just looking into his soul and reading him entirely. He's going to have to dig deep and come up with a more orthodox standard range of play, I think, to combat Action. He's just really concerned about the economic prowess of Action. He's such a strong macro, so while also remaining aggressive, I think Rush is a little bit scared about playing too many normal games.
All right, we're going to jump straight on in to our game number 2. Rush over here at the bottom left-hand corner. Action in top right. I mean, you probably don't go for another 8-Rex here. What do you think, Rush? I mean, you probably won't expect it, but as Action. But I mean, after that first loss, super quick. Probably gonna fall back on some more normal play, and I would honestly appreciate that for Rush, because he is just such a good, strong Eminem player.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that he's a little bit timid playing a completely orthodox stand-up game against Action, just because Action's such a strong macro Zerg, but I think you kind of have to. It's a best-of-7 series. You're going to have to play at least 4 of those games, probably just straight up trying to outdo one another. I think he's trying to avoid doing that as much as possible. We've got a bit of a mid-rangey opening now from Action. He's going for an overpull as opposed to just a straight-up 9 pull. So he's kind of hedging his bets against another possible 8-Rax, BBS, or other kind of shenanigans coming out from Rush. It's just going to be a normal wall-in in the natural expansion, so definitely a more orthodox range of play from him thus far.
Being a little bit safe here, Action. Safety first. Allow himself to get into that late game Zerg that he does so excel at. I kind of like it as well. You know, just playing a little bit more safe, adding on a slightly faster spawning pool each game, making sure that he can get through. I mean, Rush might be able to, you know, just cut some corners here and get a really fast CC and just sit behind his wall, but at least Action is not dead, and he would have been dead, or he would have been badly damaged in that first game had he not played this really safe style, and Rush was able to get over there and do some damage with the 8-Rax.
Yeah, and I can't really fault how Rush tried to play that in a continuation as well. Like, sometimes when you're behind in StarCraft, you have to go for those sort of like Hail Marys, hope that the stars align kinds of gambits, because if you do try and play a little bit more middle of the road to recover, naturally, you probably will be too far behind the curve in other metrics. So I can't really fault him for what he did last game after being scouted out and dealt with. But hopefully this game he can play a much more solid, straight up style, and he has got a bit of an economic advantage. I mean, this was a very safe opening from Action, and he will be playing slightly catch up relative to the 1rax expansion from Rush.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, maybe the stars align and the Zerg player is not really paying attention to their lings in your main base. Maybe they're microing back at home or doing something back at home, and you're able to get the SCVs on top of all the lings and clean them up with not too many SCV losses. But the stars definitely didn't align in that first game, but things are going pretty well here for Rush so far. Game number 2, he's gonna go for a Academy Rush with a 2rax and should be able to put on some pretty good pressure. Although Polestar cross map, it's a pretty long rush distance. Action should have some good time to react.
Yeah, I think so. And since it's cross map, I mean, Rush doesn't have to worry about, like, you know, Mutalisk quickly getting inside his main base or anything, which I think makes sense as to why he's wanting to go for a 2rax Academy here. This would be very good against any kind of early Ling shenanigans, and that's actually what's coming out of Action. There's a lot of Zerglings being produced by him right now, and having this extra infantry production definitely will help out against that. And yeah, there's even more Zerglings coming across the map now, another couple of pairs of those. So he's going to try and dive onto Rush now and target down the supply depot, but he's going to realize there's a little bit too many Marines here than there should be off of just one barracks production. So he's going to very quickly have to abandon that effort and instead just relegate himself to waiting for Rush coming out for that 5-minute timing. Instead, he's still producing Zerglings behind this. This is really ambitious from Action.
Yeah, this is wild. I expected Action to kind of wait for Rush to come out and try to surround that first Bioforce with all these lings, but throwing it up against the wall like that, I don't see how that was ever going to work. And now Action's just sitting here with almost no drones back at home and only a few lings to work with. I mean, he has enough to potentially crush this army if Rush moves out too early, but if he just sits here and waits for a few more seconds, gets a couple more rounds of Marines out, he should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, it could have worked if this was just a normal 1rax into fast engineering bay +1, but the fact that it was 2rax, there was a couple of extra Marines. He's going to pick up one Marine here, maybe with the Zerglings, and he's kind of hoping that Rush is super greedy and pushes out early so we can get a wraparound for a continuation. I'm not sure there's enough here to completely kill every single Marine, but he's getting a few. I think this was the main game plan, was to kind of like pretend to bust the natural, kill a couple Marines, but then pull back and make the Terran player feel safe and moving out early, and then doing a follow-up surround on the bio. But I don't think it's quite gone according to plan here for Action, and now he's very much struggling to build up enough Mutalisk force to put on the pressure, and turrets are already ready.
Yeah, you might be right about the +1 there. I'm not the type of Zerg player that goes for a lot of these Ling all-ins, but I see the benefit of throwing it in every now and then. Rush, for the rest of the series, is going to be more cautious, adding on more or earlier scanners to make sure that his opponent isn't going for another Ling all-in like this. But I think Rush is going to be able to take this game. He is so far ahead right now, and there's just no damage here for Action. The Marines are going to come out, start to pressure. Action still doesn't even have his second gas in the natural, so things are looking rough.
Yeah, this is really rough, and some of the Zerglings getting cleaned up for free. There's already 4 turrets in the natural, which means you can only really pick off like 1 or 2 SCVs before those Mutalisks start to get pretty heavily bruised, so you have to kind of respect that and pull back. He's now going to have to chase and dog this bio ball almost constantly. It'd be a little bit risky for him to actually commit to an attack. He's thinking about doing that anyway, just because of how far behind he is. He's making some panic sunkers seconds and hoping that Rush doesn't just stim across the map and go for the jugular, but he looks like he's lining up for that currently. Hasn't been able to stall out the timing of that factory as well. If he could somehow slow down the tech timing of the Terran by constantly killing the SCVs, building that factory, that might have been something to work with. Now, just barely these Sunkers are in time thanks to the cross map though, so maybe Action could get something done here in the main and kill a couple of these depots, swipe a few of these SCVs off the line, and start to slowly smooth out the curve.
This is pretty good for Action. Yeah, he is going to get quite a few SCVs here, but don't forget, sunken colonies do cost drones. He built 3 sunken colonies. That's a lot of money. That's 3 drones down the drain as well. And Rush still has this Bioforce out on the map. It's still a big threat. Can he wipe this out as well? Oh my gosh. Well, I'm not sure that Action can overwhelm this Bioforce now. For sure, Rush has the numbers to be able to bully that away, and Action's going to come back in here to look for some more damage, but look at how well set up everything is for Rush. So many turrets here, and a ton of bio already waiting for him.
Yeah, I think the main factor is that he hasn't slowed down the tech at all. Like, if he was stopping this starport or factory from finishing up for at least like half a minute or a minute or so, maybe there'd be a comeback mechanic because there'd be no way of like quickly getting a Valkyrie out or what have you. But as it stands, there was soon to be a Valkyrie in production with the armory and the natural. There's just nothing Action can do to recover that. He taps out, and a quick equalizer match here from Rush to prove us right that this is going to be an interesting series.
Oof. I mean, putting the pressure on, trying to get in there with some lings early and get a quick win doesn't end up paying off for Action, but Rush is going to remember that, and maybe he's going to be a little bit more safe in the early game, not move out as early, maybe add on some or add on the 2 scanners and, you know, check and make sure that he's not going for another ling attack like that. Interesting opener here from Action. We'll see if he wants to mix it up, if he's still going to be as aggressive, or is he going to go for a 12 hatch. Let's find out in our next game.
3세트 경기 시작됩니다. 먼저 보이는 진영 1시 유영진 선수. 그리고
Here he is, Rush in the top right-hand corner, Action in the bottom left. This is Action's map pick, and it's a little interesting to see that he wanted to play on this map in particular over some of these other ones, where generally it's a map that's pretty hard for Zerg versus Terran, and it's more often that we see Hydraless Defiler on this map. So I'm wondering what Action has planned here. Is it going to be some sort of 2-base all-in, or is he actually going to go Hydra Defiler, or some sort of Ling all-in again? I'm curious.
Yeah, I think it's something to do maybe with the Hydra Defiler, but I think what's good about this map in particular is just that you've got this close ramp third. You don't have to play Hydra Defiler. This is also a pretty good Crazy Zerg map as well, because you can predominantly defend with just sunken colonies at the ramp of that third base with how close it is. And you have this double gas up here in the top left, so sometimes you can get, you know, a lot of gas in a very greedy way with just one expansion effort if you were going for a more gas centric style like Crazy Zerg. So I think there's a few ways of playing on this map which can be strong depending on execution. So I would say it's most likely going to be that Hydra Defiler style or Crazy Zerg.
Opening up with the wall here, Rush is going to have a nice defensive position here in the top right. There it is. The 12 hatch comes down for Action. So finally abandoning this safety play, going to go for your regular macro style, and looks like he's going to get away with it. No Rush builds here. No cheese from Rush. He's just going to be coming over to scout, and this drone is going to go around the top lane. Okay, sending 2 SCVs, making sure that there are no links coming across. Now, Rush a little bit paranoid that there might be another 9 pool.
Right, yeah, he's definitely paranoid there. You don't usually see two SCV scouts on this map at all, so he's definitely worried about some kind of early aggression from Action, and that can really set the tone for the rest of the series. You know, you play kind of weird and aggressive in the first 2 games. Suddenly it makes your opponent play like a lot more safer and thinking about potential early game contingencies. He needs to dot his I's and cross his T's in ways he doesn't usually, but he's also getting his SCV over to his third base to deny a fast hat tree being planted here. Yeah, this was the plan from Action from the start, like we were saying. Like, he wants to get this really easy to defend third up as soon as possible. 3 drones versus 2 SCV. This is a mini game we don't usually see very often, saying he's desperately trying to get this hat tree planted because he needs that creep colony to defend this high ground. If he doesn't get the hat tree down soon enough, Rush could just counter very easily. So he does finally get that placed, and I think we were right all along about his game plan.
Yeah, that's really funny, actually. I wasn't expecting it to play out quite like that. I was expecting, you know, just Rush was going to scout as soon as he sees the 12 hatch down there at the natural. He's going to turn that SCV around, but plays a little mini game with Action there, trying to block that third hatchery, and that could come in clutch, like you were saying. Sunken colonies can't be made until the creep colony, or until the creep is actually there, and so maybe Action just doesn't have the defenses up in time. He'll have to adjust a little bit, possibly with additional speedlings to make sure that he doesn't just straight up die. Oh my gosh, that Overlord is in such a good position. If we look at the mini map here, he's going to see everything coming across the map here for Rush, and he's going to be able to respond accordingly.
Yeah, this is really well thought out from Action, but still 4 Lynx versus 4 Marines. The Marines can win with just a little bit of shimmying around to micro. Drones having to come off the line does kill one of those Marines to finish it off with the Hawk 2. But unfortunately, 2 more Marines remaining, so a bunker will be made at this third base, forcing Zerglings in response from Action and delaying him from setting up any creep colonies here as well. This isn't necessarily a checkmate move from Rush, but it is a little bit annoying.
Yeah, this is very annoying right now for Action to have to deal with. He would like to be making drones over at this third base and getting these sunken colonies online in preparation for that 5-minute move out, but he just doesn't have that luxury here. Oh, an Evo chamber goes down. Action gonna go for just a straight up ultra rush, and he's gonna go ahead and dive on top of this bunker, now pulling away the lings that are low. That's a move, a micro trick that we don't often see Zerg players pull off, running away slow lings from the bunker to try and save them. And oh my goodness, this
no way.
SCV just walks right into the main. You've got to be kidding me. I mean, Action's got to be shaking his head right now, letting that SCV in.
Yeah, no, that's painful. I mean, the fact that it's just a straight up Evo into Spire as well, this is like a super greedy version of Crazy Zerg, and we were kind of right about the potential of what the build order range would be. The problem is it's now been completely scouted out. He's going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting with these speedlings and just hope that he can hold the line. Well, he's actually getting a good surround on these Marines. They're a little bit naked and exposed. No medics in support, no stim as well. Action cleaning up the majority of those forces and is wanting to do some continuation damage. He's running past those Marines to try and catch these others before they get back to the safety of that wall, and he does successfully do so. Only medics remaining. Can Action get a quick checkmate maneuver here? There's no Marines to actually do anything. He needs to pull the SCVs off the line. He's going to lose at least a couple of those, and that's going to help Action with his macro going into this Crazy Zerg on 3 bases pay off even more.
Yeah, he's going to be able to delay his sunken colonies. That was an incredibly close run by there, just barely making it past the Marine in time. Now we've got the Queen's Nest coming up here with the reduced Marine count. He's going to be able to go into that hive just that much quicker and kind of make up for these little plays that Rush has been making. I mean, Rush flew a little bit too close to the sun there, moving out with, what was that, 8 Marines? Completely naked, no medics with that, and it was definitely past the 5-minute mark, so he should have had some medics out with that, but just didn't have it because of all the little shenanigans he was pulling off in the early game, building that bunker and going across the map with an extra SCV. He slowed himself down a little bit, and now he's in a bit of a scary position. He's going to be making A bunch of turrets here back at home. Oh, I thought that was a bunker. He's going to put a turret right on top of these supply depots. No bunker there means that these lings that were made earlier might have a role. Second evolution chamber coming up from Action as well. He's really committing to this ultralist style, this ultralist rush.
Yeah, this is going to be really powerful. And he hasn't really made any sunken colonies back at home, at least for the time being. I think he's maybe placed down one at both locations now. But for a long while, he had nothing besides some Zerglings doing the heavy lifting. And I think that's what threw Rush off a little bit. He expected sunkens to be placed early on. And with the SCV Scout in the main base, he only made one scanner initially. So without additional scans to confirm whether or not they were sunkens or what have you in the defensive line of Action, he didn't anticipate that many Zerglings being produced, and now is paying the price for it. Action has got, like, you know, only like 6 or so Mutalisks here for map control with some Zerglings. He's not trying to play this in the same way as you would usually see. These are just for map control and to slow down the Terran as much as possible and intercept reinforcements and what have you. He will predominantly be relying on sunken colonies to hold the line against any timing attacks from Rush, and due to the fact of losing that bio early on, Rush will not have that potent of any timing attacks to exploit against Action. So Action, at least for the time being, is going to be feeling pretty safe.
Not a whole lot of Mutalisks here, adding on his second sunken colony now. These are some pretty late sunken colonies, man. He's really getting away with a lot now because of all of that back and forth and those kills that were had earlier. Action able to add on the defenses much later, and look at this. No upgrades here just yet for Rush. I'm curious about how far along that is, because he may be falling pretty far behind the curve in terms of upgrades here, with Action just going directly into that +2.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-boggling how much Action's getting away with right now. This is a very aggressive variant of Crazy Zerg. Traditionally, this would be a little bit later, but he needs to be careful that he doesn't just allow Rush to go for a sunken break on the natural expansion. He probably won't attempt to attack the third base because its high ground sunkens are just a little bit too taxing to attack into and could spell disaster. But he might want to shimmy over to this rally point of Action, start to put the pressure on, and, you know, the one feature of this map on Eclipse is that you can kind of control 2 rally points from one location, so you can kind of contain the natural and the third if you do have your Marines stationed outside the rally point of the Zerg. So that's basically what Action wants to achieve, is this massive bio blob that can just sit outside of both bases and gun down the ultras with target firing. So you can see him just trying to muster a very large standing army to achieve that right now.
He is going to be able to get that reinforcement wave. So few sunken colonies here at the natural. I'm a little scared for Action. Needs to buy a bit more time for that +2 armor to come online, but this bio is on its way across the map right now. Carapace upgrade, or excuse me, chitinous plating should be finishing up here soon. There's the first irradiate that's going to be pulled out pretty quickly by Action, but dude, he's got nothing here. 2 sunken colonies, that's it? Action, is he going to have enough Ultralists to just take the fight now and beat this army?
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I mean, he's going to try and play delay. Catching this reinforcement wave is critical. This is exactly what Action needs to do. Just take a little bit of the sting away from Rush. You can see Rush is kind of realizing that he hasn't got enough punching power with this army, and critically not enough medics, it has to be said. You kind of need a lot of medics when you're fighting against Ultraling, and he doesn't have them. I mean, they not only need to heal the Marines, but they are used for body blocking and denying surface area to those massive clunky Ultralisk units, so they can't just rip through all of your Marines and gun them down with 2 shots. So unfortunately, I think Rush is in a little bit of trouble. You can see he's just stationed outside his own rally point now in a small state of panic, knowing that at any moment Action can dive upon him.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that Action is taking this fight right now. There's no reason to attack into this, but he's gonna go for it anyway, just running over a lot of these Marines, so many of them going down right now. Oh my gosh, he's actually just gonna do it. That is wild to me.
is because of the +4 armor just finished. So he's got a small window where he's got +4 armor and the Terran doesn't have +2 weapons. So that's the timing window you want to trade off bio as quickly as possible. And because you're attacking at their door, if they do irradiate your Ultralisk, it obviously turns them into, you know, double-edged swords. And you can see +2 weapons just now finished for Rush. So that was a really good timing window for Action to exploit.
We didn't get a click on the Marines until just after that fight, but you're totally right. The +2 comes in right after Action trades off all of that bio, able to kill a whole lot there. Now going to come forward with some Scourge. Can he get a kill? Yes, he does, and this bio force is way too small. Rush taps out, and Action takes another game here, putting himself in the lead. My goodness. Action is so good, man. Holding off all that aggression, I die every time to what Rush did that game.
I mean, Action is one of the better macro Zergs that we have, and he's aggressive while being macro-centric, and I think we were right in our assessment that that was a really good map for Crazy Zerg, and you saw him take that top left pocket for that double gas income to really tip the balance and put him into like 1,500 gas a minute ticking by, so we can make an absolute monstrous amount of Ultralisks, 7.5 Ultralisks a minute, absolute insane production value. Not much Rush can really do once the game has slipped through his fingers like that, and I do worry about his chances for the rest of this series.
Yeah, that top left-hand corner base with the double gas, you cannot allow the Crazy Zerg player to take that. Rush had some great ideas in that game. Like I said, those early game shenanigans were really scary, but I think he flew a little bit too close to the sun with that final attack that came across the map. Lost too many Marines and lost his punching power, his ability to punish. I cannot believe that Action got away with 2 sunken colonies in the natural going straight into Ultra. That is wild to me still. But we're going to jump into our next game, guys. Game number 4. Let's get it.
진영 11시 유영지 선수 그리고 이에 맞서는 1시 김성대 선수입니다.
All right, Action over here in the top right-hand corner. Rush in the top left. Deja Vu. And I don't see any drones being made.
This is a Vipool, yeah. He's a crazy guy. Can you imagine having to play against Action in a best-of-7 series? You really don't know what's going to come out from this guy. It could be Ling all-ins, 5 pulls, or it could be some of the strongest macro player you've ever seen in your life. The only one that can really macro better than him is someone like Sulky. Sulky's the guy that will do the same builds as you, but squeeze out an extra drone somehow. Action, though, one of the best in the business in terms of his range of play. I think maybe, yeah, only second to players like Hero and Sulky. He's really in a caliber of his own, and always a treat to watch him play. Sometimes he kind of is in a little bit of a slump and not able to execute, but when he's playing his A game, one of the scariest players on the planet.
이 전략은 운영이 됩니다.
It reminds me of what you always say about Action, that he's one of the one of the strongest aggressive macro Zergs. It's the aggression that's being shown here today is kind of wild. Started off with a 9 pool, then went to, what was it, an overpool game number 2, and then went into a 3 hatch before gas, and now into a 5 pool. He's just mixing it up so much. And I can imagine that Rush is going to be completely fooled by this. He's going to be completely thrown off by it. And 3 sets of links are going to be coming directly across the map now. In fact, a 4th set, I believe, was just made. Is Rush going to be able to hold here at the wall? He's going to have to pull basically everything. Luckily, he does manage to get the scout. That's a really important moment here as Rush spots this. He's going to be able to pull all of his SCVs at the correct time. Make sure that he doesn't just straight up die. We'll have to see how many SCVs he loses though, because that's really gonna decide this match. Here comes those Lings.
Yeah.
How many can he focus down?
Well, the tricky thing is that the Marines are spawning on the outside. Good surround though from Rush, trapping the majority of those Zerglings in. Does kill quite a lot of the SCVs. Needs to be said, this is a 5 pool, not a 4 pool, so he can just transition after killing some SCVs here. So he's probably making drones back at home and will make a hatchery in the natural as well eventually. I'm not sure if he killed enough SCVs to make this a smooth transition. I don't think this was as convincing of a performance as we were hoping for Action here, but he did I think kill just barely enough to make a game of it. I think there's a slight advantage here to Rush based on everything I'm seeing. But I mean, this is the thing about 5 pool is you can still transition. You force a lot of lost mining time. You target down the SCVs, and sometimes you can just win the game straight up if there's a lot of miss micro from the Terran player. In this case, it does look like Rush getting the better end of the stick, though.
Yeah, Rush. I mean, he handled that very, very well. Getting this around. Only lost about 2 or 3 SCVs, I think, by my count. And you can just see his saturation here in the main is very good. He's got the bunker now. He's going to be able to just fill that up with a whole bunch of Marines and get his CC going here in just a moment. No gas for Action. He just can't really afford much right now. He is struggling, and as long as Rush doesn't move out with the Marines and lose everything kind of suddenly here, I think he's just going to be in such a dominating position. It's going to be very hard for Action to take this game. Now, Action did send a drone to bottom right. He's going to take a base down there.
I like that.
3 hatch before gas. He's really trying to throw everything at the wall. Overlord here spots these Marines moving. He may end up losing that, but at least he's not just going to have these Marines walk right up into his natural. Oh, the Overlord death really does suck, though.
Yeah, and he's going to get these Marines back to safety as well. That's really painful for Action. I really love this idea of just taking the hatchery down in the bottom right like this, but unfortunately losing that Overlord really does cripple his comeback potential in this game. I'm not even sure he was starting an Overlord preemptively for that. I think he's just going to be supply blocked until one can finish up now. It just now finished, so yeah, I think he started making a new Overlord as soon as he saw those Marines with it, but it's still very painful. There's 100 minerals down the drain, a little bit lost the production time in squeezing out the drones to get the mining quicker, so he's falling behind the curve ever so slightly more. This hatchery in the bottom right is a comeback mechanic. Hopefully it will remain unscouted for a long time.
There's been enough chaos in this game so far that maybe Rush doesn't feel like there's another base out there somewhere. Maybe he's like, you know, he doesn't recognize that there's 300 minerals missing. But this SCV is so smart. He's just going to send that around the side, gets it out onto the map, and he's making a beeline down towards bottom right. The star sense is ridiculous. He's actually going to find this immediately, and knowing his position, that much closer to winning this game.
Yeah, and there's no real easy answer to this besides lots of speedlings, and that's obviously not a good one because then you're not pumping out drones and what have you, and he can't really afford to sunken up 2 locations while being this far behind the curve. If it was a normal straight up game where he had done this and he wants to go for a crazy Zerg play, then sure, he can make the sunkens, but in this situation he's going to have to rely on speedlings, and he's not going to be feeling too comfortable if Rush does go for a massive move out right now, because he can't really afford to make drones and Zerglings, and that's one of the biggest weaknesses of Zerg, generally speaking, is you're always choosing between workers or units, and it's very hard to make the right decision and, like, you know, do cartwheels along that tightrope.
It really does feel like Action has to kill this Bioforce with Lings. I feel like if he allows it out onto the map and has to build Sunkens, oh, he's actually starting the Sunken colonies. Okay, so he's not going to build a whole lot of Lings and try to just execute this. Double Fire Bat, so smart for Rush. He knows that this is one of Action's few options at this point, so just makes the 2 Fire Bats. Now that Ling option is pretty much completely shut out. Triple sunken colony at the natural, double at the third. Actually, the third one is coming down over here at the third base, and so he is prepared for this, but this hurts the economy so badly. I'm not sure if it's recoverable.
Yeah, I mean, he's made 10 Lings and these Sunkens. It's a pretty big investment. I'm not sure how well this is going to work out. Although with this early third hatchery pumping drones, I mean, maybe this is still okay for Action. I'm just a little bit concerned for him that he's going to fall behind the curve of the game a bit too much. I mean, this is nearly 8 minutes and the Spire has only just now finished. So he's really heavily reliant on this tier 1 tech in terms of just pure Zerglings and Sunkens to hold the line. And if he doesn't stop this reinforcing bio from joining up, he's in trouble. But he has got a small counter Speedlings trying to challenge that. But with the 2 Firebats there, can't really do much about it. Evo Chamber to buy some valuable time is being planted in the natural. He's so worried about this additional bio coming in. Rush knows this is a very critical timing to hit. There's not enough Sunkens here. Mutalisks are starting to trickle out. There's no medics. So what you see is there's only 2 medics. So there's only limited energy. But I don't know if there's still going to be enough. He's not got enough Mutalisks to challenge this. The energy is starting to dry up in the reserves. And I think just barely Action's going to hold.
Oh my god, this is so incredibly close. You're right, he does hold on. Unbelievable that he manages to keep absolutely every drone alive here in his natural as well. He adds another sunken colony. He knows how close he came to death just now, and this game will continue on, but I mean, Action is holding on by the skin of his teeth. It's crazy that he's still in this game right now, but this will continue on, and Rush is going to have a follow-up. What's it going to be? Are we going to see a tank push? Are we going to see some sort of Valkyrie play? How is he going to respond to... Yeah, tank push is going to be coming up here. So he's going to put on that pressure, try to get in before Defiler gets out here to the front.
In a strange way, saying the threat of Speedlings is the only thing that kept Action alive, because he made so many Firebats instead of more medics. That's what stopped Rush from being able to break through there. The energy reserves of those medics ran dry too quickly, and they couldn't keep up with the healing necessary to break through not only 3 Sunkens, but those Zerglings as well, and then the Mutalisks trickling out. If you don't have a few medics healing against the small amounts of Muta DPSing you with those glaives, your Marines will eventually eviscerate.
He's adding on some more starports here. Is he really going to go for the tank push, or are we going to see some vultures out of Rush? You generally don't go for a second starport when you're going for that tank push. You just can't quite afford it on 2 gases, the tanks and the siege mode, as well as the science facility and science vessel from the 1 starport. But we'll see here. Rush moving out with another bioforce, taking some domination or some dominion on the map, taking some map control here. But Action's gonna have lurkers here soon, and he's got the hive on the way. His drone count's not looking too bad. Action is still absolutely in this. I mean, what a game so far here, game number 4. This is a banger, actually. He's really holding on well, and, you know, Rush has had him on the ropes for quite a long time. If Action gets Defilers out, you can never count him out of the game, man. He might be able to make this comeback.
Yeah, to you know, kind of emphasize what you've just said there, he has essentially some of the best Defiler control in the entire world, and that's not an exaggeration. If he can get there, it's going to be a world of hurt for Rush, and Rush knows it. That's why we see him go for this 1-2 punch potential knockout blow. With these siege tanks, he wants to execute this attack order on Action before he can get fully set up. He's got kind of the minimum threshold of defense, 2 Sunkens and a few lurkers at both locations, but with these tanks rolling on by, will Action be able to hold on? The Defiler mount is only just now about to pop, and he's got another whole minute to go before Consume is ready. So as long as he can protect these 3 tanks from getting into good siege positions, Action might be eliminated from this game right now.
Yeah, you can still absolutely die to this. This is such a scary push coming in. 2 Actions natural. All the sunken colonies are going to go down so quickly, and now, I mean, he's wide open. He can start to hit the drones here in the natural, and these tanks are just dealing so much damage. Yeah, that Nidus Canal is going to connect, but the lurkers popping through won't be enough. GG is called, and Action taps out. Wow, I was kind of hoping for an Action comeback there, Xun. That was pretty incredible how he was able to hold on, but the 5 pool really put him in a bad spot early on, and that carried through the rest of this game. Damn, what a good push from Rush as well to hit that timing.
That was really good. I mean, if only he'd made like 1 or 2 medics earlier, he might have been able to get the knockout blow sooner. But yeah, there's not really much hope for Action to come back and get into Defilers against the tank push. He was kind of hoping that Rush would go for dropships instead. That's why we saw a lot of Scourge just kind of chilling in the main base, hoping that Rush would go for that gambit instead. He didn't really have an answer for the tank push, unfortunately. Sometimes you can get away with going for Guardians or something to hold the line, but his Hive was pretty late anyway. So those Guardians would have been morphing and not quite ready in time either way. So he didn't really have a good answer to Rush's playbook. And now we've got an equalized series yet again. And this is definitely turning into an absolute banger between these two players.
선수 그리고 이에 맞서는 7시죠. 김성대 선수입니다.
We're hopping right in to our next game. Game number 5. It's going to be played on Metropolis with Action here in the bottom left-hand corner, Rush in the top left. We see some pretty cool games from Action on Metropolis. This is a very fun map for his style of play.
Yeah, you can do a lot on a Metropolis. I mean, if you wanted to, you could even do like, 3-centimeter drops into the main base, like a slow overlord, putting a couple of lurkers in there very easily. This massive boot-shaped main base, you do kind of have to be very cautious. Sometimes you'll even see players want to, scout that with like pylons right up against the wall. But against Zerg, you can't really do that. Mutalisks will just come in and swipe those buildings out from your main base. So it's very easy to get away with some sneaky drops into the main base if you want to, just predominantly because Terran can't just place a pylon on the periphery and scout for something like that coming in.
Aside from drops, there's also the ability here for Action to throw down hatcheries in some of these main bases. Like you said, that boot-shaped main has a lot of open space in it. You can drop a hatchery out on the map in one of those locations and then slowly push with a Nidus Canal into additional bases. So there's potential here for Action to do something like a crazy Zerg and then look for hidden bases like that to try and eke out some extra gas.
Yeah, and it's really tricky to play against that unless you've got really good scouting information, and it can be a way of guaranteeing getting additional gases online rather than just being relegated to 3 gas for so long. Getting a 4th or 5th gas can be much easier once using that kind of tactic. And Action is one of the known Zerg players for doing a play like that. He's done a lot of proxy hatchery with Nidus Canal plays, both aggressively and defensively, to secure additional bases. So we'll be looking from him here on this map as well, because it's one of the better maps to go for something like that.
My heart skipped a beat there, Xun. We saw Action come down with this, I think this is like a 12 pool play, something like that, with the gas, and this is so susceptible to an eBay block, and the SCV arrived right as the drone was sitting there waiting on like 280 minerals for enough money to throw down that hatchery. Rush, if he hadn't hesitated, turned that SCV, could have thrown down an eBay block and completely ruin the plans here of Action. I can't tell you how brutal it is when an eBay block goes down and you're trying to go for a build like this. You're so tight on money and your lings are not coming out for a little bit longer. You need that hatchery down exactly when you have the money for it, and the eBay block is just absolute cancer. And so I was scared there for Action to just kind of get pushed out of this game by a simple move like that, but he does get the natural down, and he's going to be feeling comfortable going into whatever plan he has in store for Rush.
I think it's a 2-hatch all-in Mutalisk. We'll have to wait and see. Based on the lair timing, and I don't think he got speed with 6 lings early, it makes me think this is a 2-hatch Spire play. I think the idea here from Action is just to put on so much pressure that Rush can't quite deal with it. But yeah, you're right. The reason why we don't see this build order more often is because of plays like that, where you can just engineering bay block the natural hatchery, because it does go down in a bit of an awkward timing, and a good SCV scout is going to easily block that and deny you and slow down the timings of this build. And it's very closely mapped out. This is one of the hardest build orders to execute cleanly at Zerg, because you have to hit every mineral optimization beat. If you're like a little bit off and your drones aren't mining the optimal patches and you're not doing the return cargo tricks or making sure they're aligned to the corners of your hatchery so they bounce off cleanly, you will not hit the timings necessary to make this build work. So definitely not a newcomer to StarCraft kind of build order, but a very strong one if you can hit those optimizations and all your macro beats. This can be a way of really putting the pressure onto a Terran player.
Yeah, not too beginner friendly, that's for sure. Adding on a sunken colony there at the front, yeah, you can take apart some noobs with this build though, that's for sure. And Soma's been doing that for years. I remember when he was first on the scene, basically all he did was builds like this, just going all in with mutas and ripping apart these Terran players, even at the very highest levels. But will Action be able to do the same? I mean, he is not well known for plays like this. This is not his forte. Can he actually make this work?
I mean, you just need to have really good Mutalist micro at the end of the day. And, you know, he's not got the worst Mutalist micro. I would say he's definitely up there. You know, you have to have really good, solid micro to be at the highest echelons of Zerg players, and he certainly is that. He's not quite as good as, say, you know, someone like Sulky and what have you, but I mean, it's good enough. Like, he's almost on that tier. Sometimes you'll see players like Hero struggle to micro well. It depends on how confident you are and, like, you know, if you're in a slump or not. As long as you're not, like, having a downward spiral and you've been losing a lot of games recently, you can be really confident and come in here strong, and it doesn't matter how prepared the Terran is. You can still rip apart the turrets, rip apart the bio, especially before range is finished, and cause an absolute headache for the Terran to deal with.
So this really does, like, this build really seems like a timing play, but it's more of a tempo play for the Zerg player. You don't want to be losing too many Mutalists. You really want to retain that Mutalist count and keep growing your Mutalists here. That ball of Mutas is super important. Keep it going and keep on picking off SCVs, turrets, and eventually snowball things into your favor. You can see a group of Marine and Medic is actually out on the map right now. Rush thinking about a counterattack, but he turns around and heads back home. I think he scanned, possibly saw the sunken colony there at the natural. A lot of SCVs are starting to go down here as the last turret at the top side of this CC goes down. Still 2 turrets there at the bottom. The ball is rolling here. Can Action take it all the way?
Yeah, I think he potentially can. I mean, this is a pretty awkward position to defend as well. Like, you've got this massive space behind your minerals, but it's kind of like a bait. You don't really want to step behind there with your Marines. You kind of want to do what Rush is doing right now and just sit tight with the turrets and the SCVs. But this is still not ideal, to say the least. And I mean, if Action does enough damage, he could transition, but it's better to just make non-stop Mutalisks and try and go for the kill, like 99 times out of 100. And he's going to swing back into the main now. These turrets are a little bit spread apart. He can also pick off this engineering bay. I don't know. Like, Rush has to put on pressure and go for an attack now and force Action to start focusing more on controlling where the bio is and stopping it from making progress across the map for free. And that's the best way to defend sometimes as Terran, is indirectly by, you know, pressuring the idea of a counterattack and forcing the Zerg to respond to that rather than just swiping non-stop at your SCVs and turrets.
Yeah, interesting. Action, I think he added a few drones, so he's thinking about making a transition now. He's killed a lot of SCVs, he's put a lot of pressure on. Is it a good enough spot here, though, for him to transition? 300 minerals just got dumped. I'm not sure exactly where that was. I think it's into even more Mutalisk here as Action dogs this Marine force. Can he wipe that out and then go across the map, though, and keep things going in the main base of Rush? I don't think so. I think we have to see a transition now from Action. What do you think?
I mean, it's hard to say. Like, if he kills this entire Bioball efficiently, a transition's possible. But in any other situation, he could. Like, he's going for Hydralisks now, so I imagine he's going to try and get Lurkers out. I'm not sure if he's going to go for like a 2-base all-in and try and get Defiler Mound on 2 bases and just go for a Cheeto Cloud, you know, all-in strategy and just try and win that way. It's possible. He needs to be really effective with these Mutalisks no matter what he does. He has to kill this reinforcement blob or something. He can't just sit back and transition. These Mutalisks have to do a lot of heavy lifting in this game still.
He's going to go ahead and dive right on top of the turrets here in the main base, taking over the production area of Rush. Rush sending half of his army back and half of his army across the map. Are there lurkers made in the natural? That's possible. If there's lurkers there to stop this, Rush is not going to get much done over at that location. It looks like the lurkers have actually been moved, though. I'm not sure exactly where they're at. Okay, no, they are here in the natural. No way to do any damage, and some lurkers went around the side. I was wondering what that blob of red was. 3 lurkers making their way over here to the front.
Yeah, he wants to set up a contain and try and get a tactical advantage that way. Really hard for Terran to move out without tanks against that, and hasn't got like science vessels anywhere near ready. Science facilities only almost halfway done, and the problem is he's making it in a bad spot. The Zerg can just keep killing the SCV that's building that. I have no idea why Rush is building it there, by the way. That's a really bad spot to put it. Would be much better closer to the command center in the main base. So I think Action might want to come back and punish that yet again before it's completely finished up. Lots of lurkers now out on the map, ready to roam and getting to critical positions. He's got enough bioforce in their main base that looks like he might barely finish that science facility, but at the cost of allowing Action to set up a massive contain of these lurkers.
Oh, he gets the scan. He sees it. He's going to come over here and try to fight these lurkers. Can he actually clear all the lurkers here? It's a really scary attack to try and make, and these are some beautiful spines. Some more Marines come in here, but they're a little bit late, and he is just getting so many kills with the lurkers. Oh my gosh, I think Action's done it.
Are you kidding me? How is he doing this? Like, this is like watching best play Protoss versus Terran. You can't keep getting away with it, Saiyan. This is absolute insanity. Now the Dark Swarm clouds are ready, and I mean, he's only just now making science vessels and researching Irradiate. So there is no counterplay to these lurkers shimmying forward unless he somehow had a massive round of fire bats, and even that wouldn't save him. He's gonna get a very tactical victory here that's gonna be very painful for Rush to deal with. Only 1 Irradiate's going to be available to him soon as well. He's got no hope of holding this natural. He's in full evacuation mode, and he's already going to start leapfrogging these lurkers to the production line. You can see rounds of fire bats being produced by Rush in just an absolute panic right now, because he needs some way of dealing with these units under Dark Swarm, and 1 science vessel's not going to cut it.
No, it's not going to cut it here, Xun. These fire bats, I mean, if he could potentially get a big surround on them, maybe throw down a D-Matrix. Oh no, oh my gosh, the Mutas come in. They're gonna wipe out a ton of these fire bats. Beautifully done here by Action. Wow. I mean, I am very impressed at how he pulled this one off. This is a pretty tough play for a macro Zerg player, but he actually did a fantastic job, played it really nice and slow, took his time with the Mutas, never dropped too low with them, and just kept the pressure on while making this transition. Beautifully done.
Yeah, no, it really was beautifully done by him, saying. I mean, that's one of the reasons why he is on my short list of favorite Zergs. It's really exciting to watch him play when he's not in a slump and he's confident. He's a really scary player and comes back like Hero, comes back from the most weirdest of positions. You can never fully count him out. And yeah, I mean, what more can you say about him? He's a real treat to watch for us here in Cast. I did tell you in previous weeks that if somehow Action and Rush face off against each other in the third place decider match, it was gonna be a real banger, and I'm happy that I'm right about that.
셋이 김성대. 맵은 도미네이터.
All right. Potential final match here. Action. Spawning in the center right, Rush in the top left. One game away from the win here. Action. What will he open with on Dominator? He's been so unpredictable so far with each of his opening builds. Constantly kind of surprising Action and surprising us as casters as well. I never expected Rush to play, or for Action to play a series out quite like this.
Yeah, no, you're bang on the money with that. And this is the second worst position for Rush to get. He would much rather have the position that Action gets. You would think this is the worst position based on the fact that the gas is to the far left, and you know, needing more turrets to cover that wide of an area. But it's actually the bottom left that's the worst because of the dead zone behind the mineral lines, and you can really exploit that as can rotate around to the natural and the ramp very easily. But I mean, second worst is not necessarily the worst, so I mean, that's not too bad for Rush. And what he has got going for him is that if you do somehow defend against the Mutalisk issues in the early game, this is actually a Terran-sided map. I mean, statistically speaking, you're looking at a 5% advantage here. This is a 55 to 45 kind of map for Terran. If you can circumnavigate total disaster with those Mutalisks in the early game.
It's a bit of a tall order, but you know what? Action's on the right-hand side, so his mutas are going to be coming. They're going to have a long travel distance to get over into position to potentially harass that gas. It'll leave his supply lines a little bit exposed as well, with mutas flying across the map to join those mutas in the ball. Are going to have a hard time making their way all the way over to that left-hand side, and so we'll see. Can Rush hold on here, and are we really going to have Action go aggressive again with Mutalisk, or is he just going to focus on a transition? Is he going to play like a hero style where he makes 5 mutas and then goes directly into drone production? I mean, we haven't seen that from him yet.
Yeah, no, he doesn't usually. He does that on like really heavily macro maps. Like back in the day, he would do something like that on Optimizer, but I've not seen him do it a lot in recent times. That's definitely more of a hero-centric kind of play. He's definitely capable of it, but we just haven't seen that way of thinking from him in quite some time. So I'm not necessarily expecting it here from him. And he may want to be a little bit heavier on the Mutalisks just to try and exploit this slightly bad positioning from Rush. Though, like you say, doesn't have a total direct connection into that main base. Has to kind of fly around a little bit. So might not necessarily want to rely on that too much.
All right, gonna bully this SCV away. Oh, tried to pull a sneaky move there. I think that was actually a right click with a shift click back onto the mineral patches. He was trying to get a cheeky turnaround and hopefully get back into the main base for a follow-up scout. But Action manages to shut that down. He's got some lings coming across. He's actually building a lot of lings, Xun. How many lings is he gonna build right now?
I mean, this is like a rinse and repeat of game number 1, where he really wants to shove it down. I mean, if this isn't a 2-racks play, this can work, and we're going to see why here in a second. There's only going to be like 4 or 5 Marines in the wall, and now you can see what the original game plan was from Action. It's just that it was 2 raxes on that other game, and now look, with just 1 rax of production, how strong a build like this can be. That second rax was way too slow to stop this, and now Rush in a lot of trouble, to say the least.
Yeah, and his Marines are going to be popping out on the wrong side of the wall. It's going to be so hard for him to actually get those Marines into a defendable position. And now Lings here in the main are forcing the SCVs off the mining, and GG is called. A quick end to a very epic series. Unfortunately, that's the way we're going to have to end this one. Action takes that victory. You're totally right, and that was, what was it, game number 1 and game number 2?
I think it was 1, but I could be mistaken.
It's just all over again. Yeah, game number 1 was the 8 racks in the middle of the map. So it was game number 2.
Oh, my bad. Game number 2. Yeah, you're right.
Just exactly what you were saying. With the 1 racks, doesn't have enough Marines and wasn't quick enough on the draw to pull the SCVs to the front and just keep those Marines out of the main. Or out of the natural. He was able to break through there, kill every single Marine, and there's just no way of coming back from a position like that. Taps out. GG. What a crazy series. This one did not disappoint, Xun.
No, this was a great banger of a series. I'm really happy that we got to see these two showdown. And, at the end of the day, we get to practice our Protoss versus Protoss casting in light of the fact that we got ASL coming up. We're going to be seeing a few of those mirror matchups. So I'm actually kind of happy that we get to practice a little bit of that mirror casting. At the end of the day, it's not going to be too disappointing. I do think it's going to be a little bit one-sided. Best just isn't that good in PvP compared to someone like Snow. He's a much more Protoss versus Protoss specialist kind of player. So I think Best is going to have a little bit of a hard time, but who knows? He might surprise us. Maybe Snow has a bad day and what have you, or tilts a little bit because of something. Who knows? Anything's possible in a game of StarCraft. But I do feel like his Best will be not coming up on top in that series. But I mean, this has been a real special day. I've been really enjoying some of these matches that we've had here. And yeah, Action continues to be one of my favorite players. He just is it always comes up with these interesting aggressive ways of playing, and even though he's such a strong macro player, he will always throw these aggressive tactics your way so that you can never optimize against him. Like, think about this. Like, all Rush has to do to avoid that from being a problem is either scouting again with an SCV or just putting an SCV in the wall to block the gap. Now, you might think to yourself, yeah, why doesn't he just do that? Well, that's because if Action plays a normal macro game, he will not have a strong enough economy to deal with Action. And that's the weird thing about it. When you're at the absolute pro gamer level, sometimes you can't make those cuts that you should be doing on ladder to circumnavigate disasters. You kind of just want to dot your I's, cross your T's, and prevent timing attacks and stuff on ladder. But at the absolute highest echelons of play, it's razor thin margins these guys are operating with. So losing out on 50 minerals a minute to cover that is not always going to be the best course of action.
Taking a look at our group map, it's been a heck of a season, guys, but we're getting right down to the end of it. The grand finals is going to be coming up here soon. I'm going to be casting that on SCTV EN. Just like the ASL, Xun. ASL is coming up next week. Very excited to be casting that with you once again. We got Snow versus Best here. This is 1/3 of the total representation of Protoss in this upcoming ASL. Only 6 Protoss players made it through into ASL this season. How crazy is that?
Oh, it's very crazy, but I mean, it is what it is. I think Protoss, even though it's the easiest to learn how to play StarCraft, and the units are very forgiving, they have lots of HP, and you still have the shield repair mechanic. Ultimately, at the highest levels of play, I think it's technically the hardest race to master, or at least the hardest to squeeze all of the juice out of the fruits with. And yeah, it's how it is. I mean, but some of these guys still can hang. I mean, Snow, Best, and these other guys, they're definitely going to have a strong showing, and it might be the season that we have a Protoss player crowned champion still. I mean, Sulky surely can't get it 5 times in a row, right? That's just going to be ridiculous if he does.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are hoping that he doesn't for the health of the sport, but I know one person who is dead set on making that happen, Sulky himself. He is still seemingly hungry for more and coming back with new strategies, new ideas, single season. I wonder how he's going to deal with this new map pool, though. I'm super excited to see that. I've been playing it a bit myself on ladder, and my gosh, there's some very interesting ideas going on with these new maps. Super excited to do that, and I hope you guys will stop by and watch our production of the ASL English cast. It'll be live. It's starting on the 18th of August, Monday. at 7 p.m. Korean Standard Time, and we will be continuing on every single day that ASL is live. We will be live here on SCTV EN. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the grand finals, Snow versus Best. It's coming up soon.
Thanks, guys.